When the Battle of Ipsus ended in 301 BC, it marked the death not just of Antigonus Monophthalmus, but of any realistic dream of reuniting Alexander the Great's empire under a single ruler. The battlefield in central Phrygia saw a dramatic clash between the Antigonid faction and a coalition of three rival successors: Lysimachus, Seleucus, and Cassander, with Ptolemy playing a distant but pivotal role. Although Antigonus had held firm in the center, with his veteran Macedonian phalanx, it was the timely arrival of Seleucus's Indian elephants and cavalry that turned the tide. His son, Demetrius, escaped, but the once mighty Antigonid realm had shattered. The victors of Ipsus carved up the remains. Lysimachus took most of Asia Minor, Seleucus seized Syria, and the eastern satrapies remained firmly under his control, and Cassander held Macedonia and Greece. Demetrius, though defeated, still held sway in some Greek cities and coastal fortresses, especially in the Peloponnese and Attica. Though wounded, he was far from finished. As the 290s BC unfolded, the question loomed: who among the successors would emerge as the true heir to Alexander? Cassander's health was failing, and in 297 BC, he died, plunging Macedonia into dynastic chaos. His sons, Philip IV, Antipater, and Alexander V, squabbled over succession. Philip IV briefly became king, but died within the same year, likely of illness. This left Antipater and Alexander in a tense power-sharing arrangement. Alexander V, fearing his brother, called in external help. He appealed to both Pyrrhus of Epirus and Demetrius. Pyrrhus, always eager for expansion, demanded and received large tracts of land in return for support. Demetrius, however, saw a greater opportunity. He arrived in force, assassinated Alexander, and seized control of Macedonia entirely by 294 BC, declaring himself king. Now back in the game, Demetrius Poliorcetes, the besieger, aimed to reclaim his father's lost empire. He launched ambitious campaigns across Greece and the Aegean, hoping to challenge Lysimachus in Asia Minor, and even dreaming of an eastern campaign against Seleucus. But despite his military brilliance, Demetrius's ambitions overreached his resources. A coalition quickly formed against him. Ptolemy launched naval raids, Lysimachus struck from the east, and Pyrrhus invaded from the west. By 288 BC, this coordinated assault forced Demetrius to abandon Macedonia. His own troops deserted, and he fled to Greece. Once again, Lysimachus and Pyrrhus divided Macedonia, but this uneasy alliance didn't last. In 285 BC, Lysimachus turned on Pyrrhus, driving him out and taking sole control of Macedonia, now adding it to his domains in Thrace and western Asia Minor. Lysimachus, by the mid-280s, stood as one of the most powerful monarchs. His empire stretched from the Aegean to the Hellespont and deep into Anatolia. He was a seasoned general, a veteran of Alexander's campaigns, and now king of Macedonia, the symbolic heart of the Macedonian legacy. But his kingdom was not as stable as it appeared. His court was rife with tension, and succession became a deadly question. Lysimachus's eldest son, Agathocles, was a competent and popular prince. Many in the court expected him to inherit the throne. But Lysimachus's new wife, Arsinoe II, daughter of Ptolemy I of Egypt, had other plans. She wanted the kingdom for her own children and began plotting Agathocles' downfall. Using accusations of treason and conspiracy with Seleucus, she convinced Lysimachus to execute his own son in 282 BC. The murder sent shockwaves. Many cities in Asia Minor that had been loyal to Agathocles now rebelled. Worse for Lysimachus, Agathocles' widow and children fled east, straight into the arms of Seleucus. Seleucus had already ruled over the largest and most stable of the successor kingdoms, encompassing Mesopotamia, Persia, Syria, and parts of India. Now in his 70s, he saw one final opportunity to reunite Alexander's empire, or at least remove his last serious rival. The death of Agathocles gave him the pretext he needed to act. In early 281 BC, Seleucus crossed into Asia Minor at the head of a large and battle-hardened army. Lysimachus marched to meet him near the town of Corupedium in Lydia. The Battle of Corupedium would be the final showdown between two of Alexander's original generals, the last great contest of the Diadochi. Though no detailed ancient sources give us exact numbers, most reconstructions suggest both sides brought forces in the range of 20,000 to 25,000 infantry, supported by 3,000 to 5,000 cavalry and light troops and skirmishers. The battle began with standard formations. Both sides formed long phalanx lines in the center, cavalry positioned on the wings. Seleucus, known for his cautious and methodical style, waited for a misstep. Lysimachus, more aggressive, tried to press the center, but was outmaneuvered on the left flank. Seleucus's cavalry, perhaps led by his son Antiochus, broke through the enemy horse and wheeled into the side of Lysimachus's phalanx. Pinned and outflanked, Lysimachus fought bravely, reportedly refusing to retreat. He was slain in the melee, bringing an end to his empire. His body was found on the battlefield, pierced with spears, a grim symbol of the final fall of the Diadochi. With Lysimachus dead, Seleucus moved quickly to seize his territory. By early 281 BC, he had crossed into Europe, preparing to claim Macedonia itself. At long last, he would rule both Asia and Macedonia, becoming the closest any of the successors had come to reuniting Alexander's empire. But fate had other plans. In September 281 BC, Seleucus was assassinated near Lysimachia in Thrace by Ptolemy Ceraunus, the exiled son of Ptolemy I of Egypt. Ceraunus had been sheltered by Seleucus but turned traitor, striking down the last of Alexander's generals. The dream of reunification died with Seleucus. Ceraunus seized the Macedonian throne in the chaos that followed. But his reign was brief and brutal. Within a year, the Gallic invasions of the Balkans began, a series of devastating raids by Celtic tribes from beyond the Danube. In 279 BC, at the Battle of Thermon, or possibly Lysimachia, Ptolemy Ceraunus was killed by the Gauls in battle, his head paraded on a spear. Macedonia fell into anarchy once again. The throne changed hands multiple times as the Gauls ravaged. Antipater Etesius, Sosthenes, and others briefly held power, but no one could establish lasting rule. Order was restored only in 277 BC, when Antigonus II Gonatas, the son of Demetrius the Besieger, returned with an army. He defeated the Gallic tribes at the Battle of Lysimachia, or possibly at the Spercheios, and secured the throne of Macedonia. With this, the Antigonid dynasty, once nearly extinct, was reborn. By 275 BC, the wars of the Diadochi had finally ended. The dust of half a century of conflict settled into three major Macedonian kingdoms: the Antigonids in Macedonia and Greece, the Seleucids in Asia, the Ptolemies in Egypt. The dream of Alexander's empire was dead, but his generals had built something new, a patchwork of kingdoms bound by culture, political ambition, and the memory of a man who had died too young. What began as a quest for unity ended in division, and in that division, a new age was born.